Okay, if everybody is okay, let's start. Well, dear Secretary Blinken, it is a great pleasure to welcome you on this first visit to the United Nations headquarters in New York, even if it is virtual. But it is an important opportunity to renew the dialogue between the United Nations and the United States. As one of the founders and a permanent member of the Security Council on many of the most pressing challenges of our age. Mr. Secretary, Ambassador Thomas Greenfield, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome the many initiatives the new United States administration has already taken to support multilateral responses to global challenges and to strengthen cooperation between the US and the UN. To mention just three, rejoining the Paris Agreement on climate change sends a message of hope to the world. Recommitting to the World Health Organization is an important sign of solidarity with the global response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And re-engaging with Human Rights Council, I believe it's the right word, re-engaging with Human Rights Council will amplify the crucial voice of the United States on the most urgent human rights issues. So, dear friends, cooperation between the United Nations and the United States is indeed critical for our common work. The commitment and contribution of the United States are essential to resolve many serious global challenges we face, and starting by the COVID-19 pandemic. To end the pandemic everywhere, I've been insisting, and I strongly believe, we need a global vaccination plan. And I think the United States can play a very important role on this, because, as you know, I've proposed that the G20 should establish an emergency task force to develop and coordinate such a plan, but there's no way this can work without an effective American leadership. On the other hand, the United Nations Climate Conference in Glasgow, the COP26, will be really a make it or break it for our planet. And we are working closely together to build a global coalition for net zero emissions by mid-century, which has been a top priority for us in the UN for 2021, and to mobilize an immediate quantum leap in adaptation and in finance to support developing countries. Adaptation cannot be the forgotten part of climate action, and we very much count on US leadership in this regard. And in my last contacts with John Kerry, was very keen on working very strongly on adaptation and finance. And I also believe that both UN and the US recognize the importance of investing in a sustainable, inclusive recovery from the pandemic and to reignite the decade of action for the Sustainable Development Goals. As conflicts and violence cause enormous global suffering and threatening famine in at least 6 countries, and I was very happy to see how the US in the Security Council has led the debate about the problems of hunger, and it is clear that we need a surge in our diplomacy for peace. We will work to reach lasting agreements in Afghanistan and Yemen, to consolidate our efforts in Libya, to achieve tangible progress through the political dialogue in Syria that has not yet happened, and to restart the Middle East peace process. And we need a new movement for peace, but peace from war zones to people zones, where women and girls are facing an epidemic of gender-based violence. On the other hand, I'm very keen that we can deliver on what I called the call to action on human rights. People everywhere are demanding an end to systemic racism, discrimination, and persecution, and protection for the rights of women, the marginalized, and minorities of all kinds. And the United Nations is, I believe, the place to tackle our joint challenges and to reaffirm our common values. And so, Secretary Blinken, you are always welcome here, and this, I'm sure, will be the first of many visits, most of them physically present in our headquarters. Thank you very much, and once again, welcome.
Well, Secretary-General Guterres, Antonio, it's wonderful to be with you, even virtually. And Ambassador Thomas Greenfield, wonderful to see you as well. I think this is our third exchange, Mr. Secretary-General, in the 2 months that I've been Secretary of State. And it reflects a basic reality, which is the United Nations is the anchor of the multilateral system. And that multilateral system is vitally important in the United States. When we think about virtually all of the problems and challenges that are actually going to affect the lives, are affecting the lives of our citizens, whether it's COVID-19, whether it's climate, whether it is the disruption of emerging technologies, not a single one can be dealt with by any one country acting alone, even the United States. We need to find ways to cooperate, to coordinate, to tackle problems together. And of course, the United Nations is where countries come together to work on common challenges. And so we have a profound stake in its success, in engaging in the UN, and that's exactly what we're doing. You've heard President Biden talk about his commitment to multilateralism. As you've noted already, we put that commitment into practice from day one, whether it was rejoining the Paris Climate Accord, re-engaging the World Health Organization, the Human Rights Council, the list goes on. I've very much appreciated your own leadership on these issues and in dealing with many of the crises and challenges that we face around the world, from Ethiopia to Burma. We have a broad agenda. I think you've got one of the toughest jobs in the world, but we're grateful that you're doing it, and grateful to have the United Nations as a strong partner in our efforts. So with that, I'm very much looking forward to the conversation today, and it's trying to cover a lot of ground. I think we'll let our colleagues from the press leave the room, and then we can get down to work. Thank you.